Hi guys, it's Ashley back with Lumefinity. I'm going to show you today how to make the duck version of Ebenezer Scrooge. In order to create him, you'll need about 50 black bands, 80 orange bands. I use the Rainbow Loom Neon Orange. About 50 white bands, 56 red bands, 6 gray bands, and if you don't have silver, I used 1 silver band to create the glasses. So if you don't need silver, you can always replace that with gray or even black. You'll need 1 brown band for his belt, and then I used a burgundy band for the accent on his shirt. If you don't have a burgundy, it's like a Rainbow Loom burgundy. It's very shiny, but if you don't have that color, something similar to that would work as well, or even maybe a brown. So if you want to go ahead and grab your supplies, then we can go ahead and get started. Okay, the first part that we're going to be creating today is his top hat. And in order to do that, we're going to want our Rainbow Loom in the square configuration with all of the pegs even. And we'll be starting with some black bands in order to do that. And you're going to take 2 black bands from the center peg coming out to the left once. And repeat that going to the right. We're then going to come down the left side of the loom with 2 black bands, and we're going to do that 3 times. And we're going to repeat that for the center row as well as the right hand side. So 2 bands, 3 times. We then want to grab a couple of red bands, and you're going to come down 1 time on the left, once in the center, and once on the right with 2 red bands. We then want to cap off these 3 pegs with a single black band, but you're only going to create 2 loops. So it's 1, 2, a single black in the center, creating 2 loops, and a single black on the right, creating 2 loops. We then want to place some crossover bands. So taking a single black, you're going to the second peg down, and we're coming straight across with a single band. We're going to do that again on the 3rd row, and we want to do that on this 4th row, but we want to use this red color. So a single red straight across. Once we have done that, we can go ahead and begin looping. So we're going to go in through this right hand capping band, and since it's only a double, it might slip off, so just hold it down with your finger. And go ahead and loop straight up the right hand side. Then go in, grabbing this top band and bringing it over to the center. Now you want to go in on the left hand side and loop up the left. And if you've seen the tutorial for the Mad Hatter, this is essentially the same design, just different colors. And you're going to go in on the left and bring it into the center. And just as a refresher, a reminder, this is also the same design for DIY Mommy's Top Hat Charm. So if you haven't checked out that tutorial, go to YouTube, check out DIY Mommy's Top Hat. It's a really cute design that you can use pretty much to add a top hat to any of your characters. So now we're looping up the center. We want to grab a single black band, going through the center peg, and you're going to create your slip knot. And then we're going to go ahead and remove this from the loom. just like that. And you can go ahead and leave this for now. We don't need to do anything with that right now. Now, in order to create the base of the hat, we actually want to make sure that our loom is set up so there's space in between some of our pegs. And actually, let me go ahead and move this. Okay, you want to make sure that you have at least 1, 2, 3 pegs right here that are open through the bottom. Okay, so I just moved my base piece down 1, and that way I'm going to be working with this section right here. But as long as you have 3 pegs that you can fit something down in here, then you'll be fine. So we're going to leave it in this configuration, and we'll be using black bands for the base of the hat. And you're going to take 2 bands, starting on the second pin down. I'm going from the center to the left. And I'm then going to come down 4 times on the right hand side with 2 black bands. And then I'm coming down the left hand side again 4 times with 2 black bands. And then I want to fill in the bottom from the right to the left, the center peg to the left, with 2 black bands. We are then going to add 2 bands. So I want you to put a capping band on this left hand bottom pin. You're just going to create 3 loops. And we also want to add 1 to this top left peg with 3 loops. The reason we're doing that is so we can attach it later to the duck. We're then going to take the hat that we created, and as you can see, you have your double capping bands here on the end. And what we want to do is we're going to push this down in between, in the middle of our layout. And if you need to, take your hook. You want to split your 2 bands. So since you have 3 sets, this band here, this is your capping band, the 2 bands here. I'm going to take one side to the left and one side to the right. I'm going to do the same thing for the center. So 1 here to the left and 1 to the right. And then the same thing over here, coming down another peg, taking 1 loop to the left and 1 to the right. Just like that. And once we've done that, we can begin looping. So we want to go in through our capping band, grabbing the first 2 bands and bringing them to the right. And we're then going back into this band on the right side, and we're going to loop straight up to the top. Going into this top peg, pulling up your 2 bands and bringing them over to the left. Now we can loop up our left side. We need to take a single black going into this corner peg, just like that, and we're going to create a slip knot. We'll go ahead and remove it from the loom. And there is our top hat that we will be adding on to Ebenezer. Now, I also, I'm sure some of you have probably done my other ducks, like Donald Duck, Daisy Duck, Hewey, Dewey, and Lewey. And normally I always did them on a staggered loom like this with our staggered configuration. But I decided when I was creating Ebenezer I wanted to try doing it on the squared loom to see how it came out. And in turn I got more of a squared off beak. It's a little bit flatter and it's a little more like a duck. So I'm not going to go back and redo all of my duck tutorials because I barely have time to do the ones that I need to do. But if you want to go back and make any of them or have never made them, you could always replace the beak that we used in the other tutorials with this one, because as I said, it'll give you more of a squared off look. But this is the one we're going to create this time, so you want to have your loom in the same squared configuration. So we are going to start with the top of the mouth. I'm using my neon orange bands, and I'm going to come down once on each peg with a single orange band. I'm then switching to single double, and I'm going to come down 3 times on the left, 3 times in the center, and 3 on the right with a single doubled orange band. So you take a single, double it, and that's once. Single double, that's twice. And a single double, that's the third. And I'm going to repeat that again, single double, another single double, and another single double. And we're going to do that again on the right, single double, single double, single double. We're then going to come across the bottom with another single doubled band from the right 5th peg to the center 5th peg, and again on the left 5th peg to the center 5th peg. And we are going to cap off this center peg, creating 4 loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we need to place our crossover bands. So you're going to start on the 2nd peg down with a single orange coming straight across. Your next one is a single, but we're going to double it. And we're coming straight across all 3 pegs. And then this next one is a single. Now, when I originally created him, I wasn't sure how I was going to do the glasses, so if you look inside of his mouth, it has been added in after the beak is done. I am going to attach it this time, and we'll just see how it comes out, but it should make it neater as far as the inside goes. So you will need your single silver band. Actually, you need 2 silver bands, which I do not have, so I am going to use gray since I don't have another silver with me. If you want, you could pause the video, grab another silver, but this is the silver, this is the gray. They're not that far off the mark, and the part that the gray you'll see is only right here in the center. So it's really up to you. You already have some gray bands on hand. You're going to take your single silver at the bottom of your loom and come down 1 peg. And then I'm going to take this gray, I'm going to drop it down onto this pin. You can use this one or this one. I am then going underneath, so you go not through here, not through here, just straight underneath, grab this gray band, and I still went through after I said not to do that, and I'm going to pull it up and over, so up and over, and reattach to this peg. You then want to grab the bottom of the gray band and pull it over on top of itself, creating a knot. Now, because we're working at a diagonal, don't pull it tight just yet because you'll end up with an uneven bow. So I'm going to take these top 2 pieces off and pinch them together, then pulling it off, make sure that they're even, like this, and then just pull it tight. And you end up with this little tiny bow looking thing. And this is what we're going to use for his glasses. What I am going to do in this case is I'm actually going to loom it onto this band when I get there. So for right now, I'm going to set this here, and I'm going to go in through this capping band. I'm going to grab the first single double band and bring it to the left. And I'm going to do that again, bringing the next one over to the right. Now I'm going to take this. You want to leave this part out, so this bigger circled part you're going to wrap onto your hook. And we're going to create 3 loops on our hook, just like this. You're then going back into the capping band, grabbing the first 2 bands, and I'm going to pull all of this onto that band and then hook onto the peg. And just make sure that it is facing upwards when you do that. Now we can go in and loom straight up the center. Repeating that on the right. And also on the left. Now, because this is the top of the beak, we're going to want to release it from underneath. So the best way to do that is to release from the bottom. And then I'm going to take my holding hook, and you're going to go in underneath your bands to unhook. You're going to do the same thing on the center and the same thing on the right. And then we have his beak. Once he is done, we can actually go in with our hook. Once he's already loomed up, we'll go in and tighten this up and pull it down into the beak some more. So you're going to set that aside for later. And then we also need to create the bottom portion of his beak. And to do that, you're using the neon orange again as well. And you're coming down once on the left with a single neon orange band and once on the right. We are then going to take a single neon orange, you're going to double it, and you're coming from the left second peg to the center second peg, and another single double from the right second peg to the left center peg. Then taking another single double, coming down once on the left, and another single double on the right, another single double coming from the left third peg to the center third peg, and another single double from the right third to the center third peg. And then we need another single double from the second center peg to the third center peg. And we are going to cap this off with 4 loops. So 1, 2, and I'm not getting it on there, 3, 4. And we can go ahead and loop that up. So you're going to go in under the capping band, grabbing the first set of single double bands and bringing it forward. You're then going in here, grabbing the first set on top and bringing it over to the right, and the next set over to the left. Then go back in to the capping band, bringing that one over to the right and the next one over to the left. And then just go ahead and loop up on the sides. Just like that. And since this is the bottom of the mouth, we do not want to remove it from underneath. So we're just going to go ahead and loosen this up. And I'm going to grab my holding hook. And just like that. And that creates the bottom of the beak. And then there is one more item we'll go ahead and create while we're still on the squared loom. It doesn't matter whether you use the squared or not for this particular part, but we're just going to go ahead and use it while it's like that. We need to create one of his arms. I've already created one of them. So I'll show you how to make one, and then you can pause the video to make a second one. So you'll be using some red bands, and you're going to come down with 2 red bands 4 times. That's 2, 3, and 4. You then want to use 2 gray bands, and then switching to 2 white bands. And we are going to cap off the bottom, creating 3 loops. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to go in and just loop straight up. We can then grab our holding hook and pull that off and set that aside for later. On the loom, so if you need to, just pop out your center pegs and move up 1. And the next thing we will be creating is the foot. So I've already made one. After I show you how to make one, if you need to, pause the video to make a second one. And we'll be using the neon orange for that. And you're going to start on the top of the loom with a single neon orange, and we're going to double it, coming down the center peg. And you're going to do that 4 times total. So that's 1, again, single double, that's 2, single double, that's 3, and a single double, that's 4. Taking another single double, coming from the center 5th peg out to your left 5th peg, and repeat that again from the center 5th to the right 5th with a single double, and then coming down 2 times on the left with a single double. So a single double, that's 1, and another single double, that's 2. We're going to repeat that on the right side. Single double, and another single double. We are then going to fill in the center using 2 orange bands, and you're going to come down 3 times with 2 bands. That's 2 and 3. We're going to cap off the end of each peg with a single orange, creating 4 loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And on the last peg, 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to place 1 crossover band, so taking a single orange, you're going to double it, and you're going to create a triangle right here. So here's the top part of the foot where we came out on these pegs. Go down 1, the 6th peg from the top, creating our triangle, just like that. Once those are in place, we can begin looping. So we're going to start by looping the center row first. So go in through your capping band, and we want to loop the center first, because when we loop these, it pushes down on the band. If you loop these first and then the center, it has a tendency to make the middle toe kind of pop weird. And then we're going to go in on the right and go ahead and loop this up. And again, you want to stop where the bands come together at the V. Don't go straight up the center yet. And then same thing on the left. Then you're going to go in through all of these bands, grabbing the bottom single doubled band, bringing that up, and go straight up the top. Once we've done that, grab your holding hook, and we can go ahead and remove this from the loom. If you need some help, you can always do that with the bottom of another hook. and that is his other foot. So go ahead and pause the video, make a second one, and we can go ahead and start putting it all together. Now, in order to place everything where it needs to go, we're going to start with our white bands on the top of our loom, and just so you know, for the whole body I'll be using 2 bands unless I specify otherwise. So you're coming from the center peg and we're coming out to the left once. Do the same thing going out to the right. You're then coming down once on the left with 2 bands and once on the right. Now, before we attach the next bands, if you look here, Ebenezer Scrooge had these puffs of hair that came off of his cheeks. You can see them right here. And so we're going to add those in. So what you want to do is take your hook. You're going to take a single band and you're just going to do, let me see how many I did. Yep. Okay, single band, just take and create 2 loops. So you're going to cross it over once. We're going to do that again with another single, and one more time with another single. You're then going to take a single white band and double it, and we're just going to pull these on to that band and then rehook it, pinch it together, and then you're going to take 2 white bands and pull all of this onto that double band, just like that. And we're now going to place this on the second right hand peg to the third right hand peg. And we don't want it to be facing up, you just want it to be facing out. Just like that. We're going to do that again for the other side. So taking a single white, create 2 loops, take another single, just loop it once, and another single, and loop it once. Taking a single white, double it, and pull everything on. Just like that. Taking 2 white bands and pulling everything on to the 2 white bands. And then hooking it from the left second peg to the right second peg. And then making sure that that one's sticking out to the left hand side. Now we can continue on. So you're coming from the third right peg into the center chin peg with 2 white bands and repeating that on the left. And then we're going to fill in the center, 2 white bands, 2 more, and 2 more. Then moving on to the neck, we'll be using 3 white bands for the neck, coming down the center peg once. And then we're going to switch to our red. Now I want to come down the center peg once with 2 gray bands. And then I'm going to start with my red, so taking 2 red bands from that same peg, the bottom of the neck, coming out to the left with 2 bands, and coming out to the right. We then want to come down 5 times on the left hand side with 2 red bands. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to repeat that on the right side. So 1, 'twisty. Okay, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we want to fill in from the gray, the bottom of the gray, 3 times with 2 red bands. So you're coming down 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. And then switching over to our white, you're going to come down the center peg 1 time. Well, before we do that, we need to add his tail. Forgot about his tail. You don't really see that much, but we are going to take our hook. You're going to create 3 loops on your hook. You're going to do that again. And then 1 more time. You then want to take a single white, double it, and pull all of these on to the single double. Just like that. We're then taking 2 white bands and pulling those onto there. Uh-oh. Came off my hook. Okay, pulling that on. We will then take this band and go from that center peg where we ended our red coming down to the next peg. And you want to make sure that the puppy side is facing down. We're then going to take 2 white bands from that center peg coming out to the left, and 2 more white bands from the center peg coming out to the right. Then going back to our orange, take a single orange and we will double it, and we're going to come down on the left and doing that all the way to the bottom of the loom. So another single double, and another single double. And we're going to repeat that on this right hand side. Single double, single double, and another single double. And this is what you should have. Now we can go ahead and place some of our attachment pieces. So let's go ahead and grab the arms, and we're going to place those on the 2 shoulder pegs. Just like that. And grabbing our feet, we're going to place those on these 2 bottom pegs here. We can also go ahead and attach the hat. Now, in order to attach the hat, if you remember, we had a holding band here, or a capping band, and we added a capping band in up here. This one's a little harder to find because it is wrapped with the slip knot. So you're going to go in between your bands, find the 3 bands from that cap we added right here, and we are going to place that on the top left peg. You can also take this if you want. This is the slip knot we created, and you can incorporate that in if you want. Just wrap it around here because it'll be hidden underneath the hat. Then on the other side, you're going to find that capping band that we had right here and attach it to this right top peg, just like that. We also need to place his eyes, and I am using 2 of the white pony beads in order to do that. So you're going to take the single white band, pinch it, and feed it through your beads. and you're going from the second right peg to the second left peg. Separate your beads and pull one side of the band up over the second center peg. And we also need to go ahead and place some crossover bands. So taking a single white band, you're going to create your triangle from the third left to the third right. Moving down into the body, we'll be using red bands, and not the peg with your arms, but going one below, creating a triangle with a single red band. Doing that again. One more time. And we're going to place one here as well. Stopping right there. And this is what you should have. Now you want to go ahead and grab your burgundy band and just have that ready. What I like to do is actually put it on my hook ahead of time, because if I don't, I have a tendency to forget. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this on my hook and create 3 loops. Just like that. And I'm just going to push it down so it's out of the way, but that way when I get to where I need it, I can place it. We're ready to go ahead and begin looping. So you're going to go in through your feet, pull back, grabbing those bottom 2 bands and bringing them up. And you're just going to go ahead and loop up to the top of the leg. We're going to do that again on the left. We then want to go in, grabbing the first 2 white bands, pulling them, bringing them into the center, and do that on the left-hand side as well. Now we want this gray here to be the visible portion, because it's actually, in a picture of him, it's like a scarf. So we are going to loom our sides first. So I'm going to go in on the right side, grabbing the 2 red and bringing them up. And I'm just going to go ahead and loop this all the way up to the base of the neck. And I'm going to repeat that on the left-hand side. And now we're going back down through the white bands, grabbing the bottom 2 white and coming straight up the center. Now before we get to this last red band, this is where we're using this burgundy band. So you're going to go in, grab the 2 bands, we're going to pull this on, and then hook it. And go ahead and just kind of push it towards the top of the band. If you need to, you can always push it up once it's off as well. And then looping up our gray. Now we're going to go in through all of these bands, and we're grabbing these bottom 3 white bands. And remember, there's 3 of them, so you don't miss any. Then going in at the top of the neck, grabbing the first 2 white bands and bringing them forward. My next 2 white are going to the left, and my next 2 white are going to the right. We are then going to stop here and push everything down so we can attach his beak. So we want to grab the bottom portion of the beak first, and as you look at the top of the hook, there is 2 bands on the right and 2 on the left. We are placing the 2 of them here and 2 of them here. And you want to make sure the center of the beak comes below this peg. So I'm going to take my first 2 bands, attaching them here, and I'm going to pull this down around the base of this center peg and attach the next 2 bands over there. Then grabbing the top of the beak, making sure that your bow is facing up, or your glasses. And if you look at your hook, you have 3 sets of 2 bands. So these 3 here will go on this right 3rd peg, the center two will go on the center third, and the left two will go on the left third. So you're going to place your first two bands here, two in the center, and two on the left. And just try to make sure it's not pulled too far one way or the other. If you need to adjust the beak a little bit. Now that we've done that, we can go ahead and loop up the rest of him. So we're going to go in on this right side through all of these bands, and we just want to grab these bottom two white bands right here and bring that up. And we'll go ahead and loop up all the way to the top. And we're going to do the same thing on the left hand side, going through all of these bands, only grabbing the bottom two. And loop all the way up to the top. And then going in through the top portion of the beak, only grabbing the bottom two. And looping all the way up. We then will need a single black band, or I'm sorry, white band. You're going to take a single white, you're going to go through the bottom, grab this white band, bringing it through as if you're creating your slip knot, pull it around to the top. But before you create it, you're going to pull up on the hat, going through the hole that it'll create. Grabbing your bottom band and bringing it forward. You can then create your slip knot, or you can break it. Let me try that again. And then before you remove them, if you want, you can just pull this hat forward a little bit, bring that back behind him. And then we can go ahead and remove him from the loom. So starting from the bottom, I'm going to use the back of my hook. Okay, now he's off. Now, his hat, you can see a gaping hole in, so we're going to fix that. Go ahead and pull out the sides of his little poofs and make sure that his eyes are showing. And take your finger in the base of the beak and push up to round it out a little. Same thing with the bottom, pull it out and straighten it out. Straighten his arms and his feet. Make sure that this piece is towards the top of its band. You can just pull it up with your fingers. Now the glasses are kind of hanging weird. Like I said, last time I did it last, I had hooked it, but remember you saw this gaping silver band here? So now we're just going to take our hook through the bottom, grab onto that silver band and just pull it down into the beak to tighten it up. And you might have to fiddle with it a little to get it to actually stand up the way the glasses do. Just like that. And then we'll go ahead and tuck. Then we don't have the whole bottom of that band going through his mouth, just a little bit. Just like that. Now, as far as the hat goes, because it's a top hat, you want to pull out on your edges a bit. And the easiest way to fix this is you're going to go through with your white band. You're going to go in through the back of the hat and go into an area in the center, like this band here, kind of towards the back here. And I'm going to grab my white band just like you're hiding it. But you want to pull it through the hat instead of under the hat. And then pull down. And then hide the band into his head in the back here. And that will help to pull the hat down more onto his head. And again, just like, remember the black band we hooked through that center peg? That's right here as well. If you pull down on that, that also pulls it back towards his head. But we don't want that in the front. So again, I'm going to pull this black band through the back as well. You really will have to play with it as far as where you hook, like how to tighten this area up right here so that it sits on his head. Because this one is not. I'm going to try going through that front. Oh, I didn't get it. There we go. Wrong band. Okay, if you pull the slip knot band through one of your front bands on this brim and then pulled back and down, it'll pull the hat back into his head. I got this funky band from where my band broke. And then, as per usual, as you guys know, I don't have my Sharpie. Just push forward on his eyes and place your dots to create the pupils of his eyes. And then you can also flip him over and hide the top, hold the top slip knot from his hat down into the back of his hat like that. But that is how you create Ebenezer Scrooge. I hope you like him, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for updates on future videos and when they're ready. Thanks, guys.